Mercedes-Benz is in the middle of adding an electric version of their current gasoline lineup, and this EQS SUV is supposed to be their S-Class of SUVs. However, don't let the name fool you, because this is actually not the same size as the GLS. It's actually similar in size to the GLE. But misleading name aside, does this actually feel like the S-Class of SUVs? Let's go for a drive and find out. Here are the headlines of the EQS SUV. 516 horsepower, 632 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in a claimed 4.6 seconds. Although Mercedes-Benz does always err on the side of caution, so in reality, this EQS can probably do the 0 to 100 sprints in closer to 4 seconds. Power is sent to both the front wheels and the back wheels, and they are... What?
Ours is a song written and recorded by American singer-songwriter Taylor Swift from the deluxe edition of her third studio album, Speak Now.
I don't care about Taylor Swift. Just cancel. And stop interrupting me. Anyway, as I was saying, power is sent to both the front wheels and the back wheels, and they are supplied by a 107.8 kilowatt hour battery. The overall driving range is 459 kilometers. So this EQS SUV has plenty of power, and whenever you put your foot down, of course, the electric motors provide instant torque. In the comfort drive mode, power delivery is really smooth and gradual, but as soon as you put it into the sport mode, then power is much more snappy. And what impresses me the most about the driving dynamics of the EQS SUV is just how well the air suspension and adaptive dampers keep the body level around corners or when you hit a really big bump. It all stays flat, it's nice and smooth, and the suspension just does its job very, very well. However, there's one thing that I really hate about the driving dynamics of this EQS SUV, and it all has to do with the brake pedal. The brakes themselves are huge. I know that it's really difficult to see them behind the type of wheels that this particular demo vehicle has, but I assure you that they are massive. And in emergency situations, they bring this big and heavy SUV to a stop like as though you hit a wall or a tree. However, when you're just slowing down more gradually and you want a smooth stop, it's really, really difficult to do in this EQS SUV. So yes, it does have regenerative braking and it has different modes. There's a no regen braking mode, a normal regen braking, a strong regen braking, and an intelligent regen braking. The intelligent regen braking I don't use at all because I just don't trust it. So when there isn't a car ahead of this EQS SUV, then there's no regen braking. But as soon as it detects a car ahead of you, it tries to maintain a gap. However, the regen braking is never consistent. It always changes. And that's why I don't trust it, because I always want regen braking to be consistent. So what you can do is switch it to the strong regen braking mode, and you can actually use this mode as a one pedal drive mode. However, whenever you need to apply the brakes, the brake pedal actually moves. So it's never where you expect it to be. I'm not trying to exaggerate it or anything like that, but this brake pedal genuinely does move on its own. I've never experienced that in any other car. It is just the strangest feeling and I don't like it. I want a consistent feeling brake pedal that's also firm. Another thing that I noticed in this strong regen braking mode is that whenever you slow down and you don't use the brake pedal, the brake lights do come on. But when you arrive at a complete stop without again using the brake pedal, then the rear brake lights do not turn on. They actually stay off. That seems very, very dangerous to me. Switching to the normal or no regen braking modes results in less pedal movement of its own accord. But there's a distinct difference between regen braking and the physical brakes in these modes. This makes smooth stops very tricky and it'll induce some head bobbing. This brake pedal feel is the strangest, unnerving, and frankly the worst that I've ever come across. As I mentioned earlier, the EQS rides on air suspension that controls body movement very well. This is also a maneuverable SUV thanks to the standard 4.5 degrees of rear wheel steering. At slow speeds, the back wheels turn in the opposite direction to the front, thus reducing the turning circle. On highways, the wheels turn in the same direction as the front to help with stability. 10 degrees of rear wheel steering can be optioned for a price. And finally, this being an SUV, there is an off-road mode. This raises the air suspension and softens the throttle response among other powertrain changes to make it a fairly capable off-roader. I doubt that most, if any, EQS SUV owners will take this six-figure SUV on a forest service road, but at least you'll have the knowledge that it can cope with some light off-roading. This Mercedes EQS SUV definitely has the ride of an S-Class. The air springs absorb the worst potholes and manhole covers that city streets throw at it. Not an easy task in a vehicle weighing over 6,000 pounds. With the transition to an electric powertrain, there are absolutely no vibrations through the chassis because there's no engine. The Mercedes EQS SUV is as smooth as taking a flight in a 787 Dreamliner. Speaking of flying, wind noise is minimal. There is some road noise, but it's not any worse than in the gasoline Mercedes SUVs like the GLE. All in all, this is a superbly comfortable SUV that is very much deserving of the S in its name. Now let's get to the interior of the EQS SUV because it is a very impressive interior. However, there are a few things in here that I find a little bit annoying, and they're not really things that I would want in my own personal vehicle. But first, the good stuff. These seats, they are absolutely fantastic. They're comfortable, they're supportive, and they have plenty of adjustments. Plus they come with little pillows in the headrests. It makes it really comfortable. They are of course massaging as well, and Mercedes-Benz does an excellent job at massage seats. These front ones are heated and ventilated, but the back ones are only heated. They're not ventilated, unfortunately, and they don't have any sort of massage feature either. The next great thing about the interior are the materials. All of them look and feel premium and luxurious. From the leather on the seats to the open pore wood on the center console, even the speaker covers for the Burmeister stereo system, which by the way is excellent. It all looks and feels like what you would expect from a six-figure car. And of course, the biggest attention grabber is the hyperscreen. This is a single piece of glass that spans from one side of the dashboard to the other, and it measures 56 inches. However, it consists of three separate screens. So for the driver, it's a 12.3-inch display. The center touchscreen is 17.7 inches and it's an OLED display. And the passenger has a 12.3-inch OLED display as well. The graphics on these infotainment screens are absolutely phenomenal. They look crisp and clear. However, going through the infotainment system can be a little bit frustrating at times because you constantly have to go into menus and to sub-menus and into more sub-menus just to change one specific function of the car. Now, it's not too difficult to go through and do all that, but when you're driving, it is very distracting to do. And unfortunately, as you can clearly see, there are no physical controls for the climate. The previous generation Mercedes-Benz vehicles, they had a very nice set of buttons for the climate. They were always there. You can easily use them and access them without being too distracting when you're driving. But with this one, even though there is tactile feedback from the touchscreen, it still requires your attention whenever you're driving, because you want to make sure that you actually click on the temperature up or temperature down, whatever it may be. Additionally, there are more touch-sensitive controls on the steering wheel, and although you can click on most of them, others require swipes, and sometimes swiping just doesn't always work. So for example, if I'm swiping left or right, half the time it'll think that I'm swiping up or down. Again, this is just more distractions when you're driving, and that's my biggest issue with this interior. There are just too many things to distract you when you're actually driving. Oh, and also one more thing about this hyperscreen. In certain daylight situations, if the sunlight hits that passenger screen at just the right angle, it's burning a hole in my retina. In terms of space, for my above average height of 6'4", there is plenty of it up here in the front. Plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom. You also get quite a lot of storage underneath this floating center console for a small bag or a purse. And you do have quite a lot of space for your phone. There's a wireless charging pad in here and 2 cup holders for coffee. So all in all, a very impressive and comfortable interior. But again, there are just too many distractions in my opinion. Like I said, the previous generation of Mercedes-Benz vehicles had a nice blend of physical controls as well as touchscreen controls, and it looked like as though somebody actually took the time to design all of those individual buttons. Whereas in this one, they just stuck on some screens and let the programmers and UX designers do the rest of the job. It doesn't feel quite as special. But anyway, that's about it for the front. Let's go check out the back seats. In these back seats, there's a good amount of space for someone as tall as myself, even sitting behind my tall driving position. However, you still don't get quite as much space as you get in the Mercedes-Benz GLS. Additionally, this EQS SUV is optional with a 3rd row, but unfortunately this particular demo vehicle does not have it, and from looking at the pictures, it's not a place that you want to sit in because it looks very, very tight. But these 2nd row seats are power operated, and they have a few adjustments, not a whole lot, but just enough to keep you decently comfortable. And you do get a 4-zone climate control system, but you can option for a 5-zone climate control system if you get that 3rd row. And as you can see, it does come with these optional tablets. These allow you to control certain functions of the EQS, like the ambient lighting, the radio station. You can set a navigation destination in here and then send it over to the main screen so that the driver knows where to go. And of course, you can watch movies on these tablets. Also, there is another tablet right here, and this one is detachable, so you can just hold it. And with this particular one, you can also use it to check your mail, access Google Play Store. What else is there? Calculator, gallery, contacts. So it's kind of like a tablet, like a normal tablet, a Samsung tablet or an iPad. Also, this particular demo vehicle has a wireless phone charging pad right here, and your cup holders are right here. And that's about it for the back seats. It is missing a few things. As I mentioned earlier, these back seats are not ventilated and they don't have a massaging option. And also there are no sunshades either. Plus, there are no soft closed doors. I find it strange on a 6-figure car like this. But all in all, still really comfortable, and you do also get these pillows, so that I like. Anyway, let's go check out the trunk. The trunk is more similar in size to the Mercedes-Benz GLE. So you're getting just over 650 liters with the rear seats up, and if you fold them down, which are power operated by the way, both down and up, so you don't have to exert any sort of manual labor, then you get just over 2,000 liters of space. There is a little bit of space underneath the floor for small items, but the one thing that I'm not seeing in this EQS SUV, even though it does have air suspension, is a little button that allows you to lower the back end, making it easier to load stuff in or out. I'm just not seeing it anywhere. And the GLE with the air suspension does have this button, but the EQS doesn't have it. The 2023 Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV is as expensive as one expects from a luxury German car brand. The EQS 450 SUV starts at $136,000 Canadian, while the EQS 580 SUV starts at $158,500 Canadian. There is an EQS 450 Plus SUV that is available in the United States, but not here in Canada. With this six-figure price tag, the EQS SUV has features on it that you'll only find out if you read the spec sheet. Of course, it has the usual features of soft leather upholstery throughout the cabin, heated seats all round, and a heated steering wheel that turns on with the driver heated seat, 4-zone climate control, 5-zone if you option for the third row, pillows in the headrest, panoramic sunroof, the aforementioned massaging front seats, and many, many more options. Some of the more unique features include LED digital headlights that not only adjust on the fly when there's an oncoming car or to changing road conditions, but they can also project animations when turning on or off the car. There's pre-entry climate control with purification, which will precondition the cabin before you enter the car. There's a car wash mode that will raise the air suspension, close the sunroof, turn off the rain sensing wipers, and set the climate control to recirculate. The windshield, side windows, and rear window have an acoustic membrane to reduce outside noises. Additionally, the glass is infrared reflecting, which helps reduce the sun's harmful UV rays. You can even set different profiles in the infotainment system and quickly load them with a touch of the fingerprint scanner on the center console. As for safety, this EQS comes with a lot of stuff as standard, way too many for me to list without just reading the spec sheet. In fact, there are only 4 optional items, at least for the Canadian market. Of course, it has the usual features like automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning with lane keep, blind spot sensors, rear cross traffic alerts, adaptive cruise control. The list just goes on and on. But it also has really unique stuff like crosswind detection. It massages the brakes whenever it's raining so that the brake disc surface is actually dry, so you get better braking in emergency situations. At intersections, if it thinks that a car is going to run a red light and it's going to hit this EQS, it will automatically apply the brakes. When you're driving on highways, it can actually change lanes on its own. There's just a lot of safety and driver aid technology in this EQS SUV. And that's the thing. Mercedes-Benz put so many safety and driver aids into this EQS SUV, but then they also put a lot of stuff on the inside that I personally can find distracting, like the hyperscreen or the fiddly controls on the steering wheel, and don't even get me started on the brake pedal. I absolutely hate it. But is this an actual S-Class of SUVs? Well, it definitely has the power of an S-Class. It has the comfort and the luxury of an S-Class. And it also comes with the price of an S-Class. Is it worth all this money? Well, if I were a lawyer or a doctor, not anything high profile, just average, then what I would actually do is go for the EQE SUV, because you're still getting the brilliant air suspension, you're still getting the rear wheel steering, you can option it with the hyperscreen. I'm sure it's just as comfortable as this. The only thing is it's slightly smaller, it has a little bit less range, and most importantly, it's quite a bit less expensive than this. So that's the way that I would go if I were in the market for something like this. But anyway, if you'd like to know more about this Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.